I didn't try to have some perspective because there was no perspective to be had because I was so in it. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Orphic. My name is Alyssa. I'm an astrophysicist. I have my PhD, and I do research on the intersection of science and spirituality, specifically focusing on time and consciousness. And what I'm actually working on is creating a new coordinate system of time and creating a new understanding of how time works in terms of communicating with different aspects of our own consciousness and how just we need to just redo it all in order to understand how to unify the forces in the universe. So that's what I'm working on. Please follow me on Instagram at interdimensional.astrophysics. Hey.
Hey, I'm Mikayla with Mariposa Moonchild on Instagram, and well, I'm not a doctor, so
Okay.
I feel like that's a hard follow up. I'm a rocket scientist. I do astrophysics and blah blah blah, and I'm doing this and the quantum and the whatever you said. The time. I'm gonna figure out time, space, travel, and I'm like, okay, well, hi.
Hey.
No, actually, I do cool stuff.
Of course you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here with me because we're both really cool together.
Obviously, this is my idea. This wouldn't even happen without
me. I made us.
Wait, what was the question?
Who are you? Tell the audience.
Who am I? Oh, what a question. Who am I?
Who are you?
Who am I? I am a spirit that is inhabiting this body that is called at this time Mikayla on this planet Earth.
Yeah, it's true.
And bigger picture scope, I do desire to be part of the ripple effect of healing that's happening across the planet. So offering support and guidance to those souls who would like to connect to themselves deeper, connect to their heart, learn how to be their own healers, learn how to tap into their own potent medicine. And I know it sounds cliche, but raise the frequency, the vibration. I feel like that's oversaid a lot now, but it is that. It's like us, it's like tapping into that healed, embodied state of us, who we are, and the earth. And we're seeing that happen more and more and more where, people are like, that's it. I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of these cycles. I'm tired of these patterns. I want to change it. And how do I do that? And I feel like how we do that is really coming back home to ourselves and learning to listen to ourselves and learning to our heart, learning to listen to our heart connection, be heart connected, and, connected to the earth. So part of my work is to assist souls who want to delve in deeper to learning more about themselves and connecting to themselves. Yeah, that's part of my work here on Earth. But I really am just a spirit having a earthly experience in this meat suit. Ugh, honestly, I hate that word. People say that, and
I hate when people say that. I'm like, I know it's true, but it's just not the best visual.
No, it makes me think of Lady Gaga when she wore all that meat the one time.
Yeah, I know.
No, but anyways, in this body, navigating that, learning, processing, playing, all the things as a human, and learning more and more what it means to be human, and being on my own journey through this too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. So let's just do a few deep breaths and get a little more present in our bodies before y'all listen to this episode. Okay? Breathe.
Yeah, breathing's good.
Mm-hmm.
Did you finish your cacao already?
You know, there's a very little bit left. My heart is open as fuck.
Okay. Everybody, if you're lit. Yeah. Okay. I do not know what's going on with me today.
It's all right. It's fun. Laughing is good. We should laugh
laughing
more,
is
even though in
good.
this episode I do also cry. But it doesn't mean that we can't laugh right now.
No.
All right, so let's breathe, okay?
So let's breathe.
Let's
So
breathe.
I invite everyone at this time to take a second to feel into our bodies and just ground in and just be present here. So I invite you, if you're able to, please use your discernment if you're able to in this moment. Close your eyes. Place a hand somewhere on your body, wherever it's intuitively being called to. Maybe it's your chest, your heart. Maybe it's your womb space. Maybe it's your belly. And let's take a moment to take a deep, cleansing, refreshing breath in. So, big breath in, filling our lungs all the way to the top, up, 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 and pausing at the top. Hold here. And let it go. Another deep breath in, filling our lungs all the way to the top, up, up, up. Pausing at the top. Holding and letting it go. One more deep breath in, breathing in the light from the earth. The light from the earth star, breathing it in, holding it. Hold, 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 hold. And on the exhale, just releasing any heaviness, any tension in your body. Letting it go. And then just gently bring yourself back into this space.
I'm back. So, this episode is the part 2 continuation of my story about heartbreak. And please definitely listen to the part 1 of this episode. So, I'm talking about a romantic love situation that I had. And I just want to say that just to kind of give a little bit of a context of where we jump in this episode, just from like where we wrapped up at the tail end of the last episode, I'm talking about, and where we're about to jump in for this episode is I'm talking about this reading that I received from my mentor, Jenny, who's at Starseed Academy on Instagram. And at the end of the last episode, I was saying how she had said that me and this person had a romantic soul contract, like a soulmate soul contract, to potentially be together in this lifetime, but that he did not choose to fulfill the contract with his free will, because we do have free will here. Pesky free will. So yeah, so that's where that's kind of the context of where I pick up here. And
just go listen to the last episode.
Yeah, but also definitely do that. But yeah, hope you enjoy, and thank you for listening. And also, this is our 50th episode, by the way. So congrats to us on 50 episodes.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And thanks for anyone who's like been here from like the beginning or listened to all of our episodes, or even if you've just listened to like one episode or this is your first time, like, yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah,
You mean a lot to us. So
a lot, a lot.
a lot. I mean, we'd be talking to each other still if it wasn't for that, which is fine. But like,
Yeah.
it's really cool starting to like build community and see the people that are listening or resonating or finding value. So yeah, we love you and we really, really appreciate you for being here and being open to our energy.
Yes. And especially if you are listening and enjoying, please leave us a review wherever you're listening, and also subscribe on YouTube where we have all these episodes with video on YouTube. So, yeah. All right. Hope you enjoy. Yeah, free will would have had to take over, and it would have had to.
His free will did take over, and he didn't really choose.
Yes.
The soul to fulfill the soul contract, essentially.
Right. So she said
to
be
a wiener and play safe. Just kidding. Just kidding. He's not. We're not going to put that out there into the universe. Cancel clear.
I'm not kidding. But that's what she said. But that we did have some contract to be together, potentially. But yeah, and so with this information, and then the other thing, like just the insight, the guidance from my spirit guides that she had channeled too was like, that they're asking me to view this as a lesson, and in terms of the way that it works, like, so we have multiple soulmates contracted, and this is why sometimes it's like weird and not necessarily accurate or not necessarily in your best interest to get super fixated on one person or just think like there's only one person that you're supposed to be with, because we do have multiple soulmates that have incarnated with us on Earth. And timelines are such a interesting thing, especially when free will is involved. And so she said that if you can use this as an opportunity to up level yourself, to raise your standards for someone that's, I don't know, maybe available. No, I'm saying that. But if you can use this as an opportunity
available,
to up level yourself, then you raise the bar, you raise your own self, and just pour more self-love, and you raise yourself to align to the next contracted soulmate that's on your path, and that person will definitely show up on your path. Again, nothing's ever guaranteed. Imagine the next one doesn't choose me either. No, I'm kidding. He definitely will.
Don't put that out there.
I'm kidding. He so will. But
your throat is your biggest is your most important chakra for manifesting.
Cancel clear it for me. So then you align to the next one, and my spirit guides were asking me to view this as a lesson and to be open to the next thing. And so that was guidance that I got from Jenny at in the end of December. I received this reading, and it really resonated. It resonated in the sense that I felt like I had this knowing that there was a deep soul contract to be together. Like I felt like it validated what I had already known and what I felt, and it resonated in the sense, one of the things that I think this is what I was going to say. One of the things that she had emphasized was he showed you by his actions, not by words. He showed you by his actions that he wasn't ready. She said, you made it clear that you were ready to take this step, and he made it clear from his actions that he was not. And this was where I had like another internalization of this is where I saw the situation more clearly. I started seeing the way that the last like few months and 5 months had unfolded a little bit differently, in terms of like there had not been any actions for a long time, and you know, from one perspective, I could have, not that I have like regrets, but from one perspective, like those actions were made clear like ahead of time. And like, you know what I mean? I felt like that was the perspective that I had, because in my mind, I was like, well, it's okay that he hadn't made up his mind until now, or like, it's okay. Like, I was so in the situation that I felt like I wasn't actually acknowledging fully that the
Mm-hmm.
actions weren't there. I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's fine. The situation's weird. I was just like constantly giving it a pass. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
when she said that, I had that inner reflection, and I felt like I was able to see the situation more for what it was, and more clearly of like, damn, she's right. Like the actions have not been there. And that is what matters, and that is what's important.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you know, this reading, and I was in a really, like right before this, I was like so delulu. Oh my God. I had like
Yeah.
so
Well,
much
yeah, it
hope.
was also a tough spot too, because you were in a space where no one could really, like, you had to figure this out yourself. Like, no one could really
Hmm.
tell you. Like, you admitted yourself that, like, if anyone said anything or was just kind of like even just kind of neutral about it, you were just like,
Hmm.
not, I don't know,
Yeah, I
didn't really
totally.
receive that. So,
Yes,
which
I
is
was in
tough
my.
because most, like, I don't know, like, if you're talking to your protective brother or like some of your
Hmm.
siblings, like, I don't know how they would react in some of these, or even talking to me, like you talked to me a lot about it, and I did my very best to just be like neutral and support you. But I mean,
Hmm.
I don't know how you felt about that.
No,
Yeah, I don't
like,
know.
no, you very much like, I just could tell that you had more doubts that you weren't saying out of love, but you were very much letting me have my own experience the whole time, which I appreciate. You know, you very much let me have my own experience, which that was like the best
That's
course of
good.
action. And that was like the only thing I just could tell, because I know you so well, and because, you know, psychic, I just could
You're
tell that you were
intuitive, yeah.
holding back like some more realer feelings. But you let me have my experience.
Wasn't my
But
rodeo,
yeah,
man. Not my
it
rodeo. Not my
yeah,
chickens.
yeah.
I got my own chickens to worry about.
Exactly.
Unless you
And
need me to worry about your chickens, then just ask and I'll round them up. But
yeah, it was, you know, it did feel a little bit lonely. I feel like that's what heartbreak and love is a lot of the time, and I feel like that's the only way it can be, because these are things that only you experience, and only you understand the depth of your past experiences, the depth of how you feel now, the depth of how you feel about that person.
yeah,
And I think that's the way it has to be. You know,
yeah,
I felt like it was all happening within me, and it was all me. I'm the one that let myself get this far in terms of like, you know, how strongly I felt, letting myself go down this road of really thinking it was possible, letting myself feel so strongly, um and also, yeah, and letting myself, yeah, just have my own experience. And but it definitely, what it did feel like a little bit lonely. But I don't know, I do think there's part of me that thinks that sometimes with things like this and love and heartbreak, like, I don't think there's really any other way to experience it. Like, it's very personal, and it's very
mm-hmm.
internalized. And so I feel like this reading kind of just was a little bit of a wake up call and like a reality check for me, because obviously, like, for a few months before that, like, I should have been treating it as like really letting it go permanently, but I wasn't able to do that yet. And that's okay. I think I
Mm-hmm.
really needed that liminal in between space in retrospect. Like, I needed to let it go like 20% before I was able to really rip the band aid, because whew. So then what happened when I really ripped the band-aid? Okay, yeah. So then basically, there was so much intense grief. It was just that I finally gave myself permission, or I sobered up to it, and I was like, Alyssa, like, this has to be done. Like, this has to
Yeah,
be in the past. This has to just be a stepping stone. And I it was then when I
I
realized,
think
like,
that was the first time
ooh,
you did that too. So it was like a big, like that was the first time. I mean, you did talk about a grief cycle
yes,
you had before, but I feel like this was
no,
different where, because you weren't clinging on
so
to any
different.
hope anymore. You're like, oh,
Oh, it
and I
was,
do think you had it built up in your mind as kind of a visual and a picture of that future like projection. So for that to kind of just shatter for you was, yeah, a big grief
mm-hmm.
process for sure.
Yeah, it was then that I realized how much I didn't let shit go at all a few months before. I was like, oh, sweetie, honey, you didn't let anything go a few months ago. That's so cute that you thought you let anything go and that you like cried for a few days. That's so cute because, oh my God, did it come down like a ton of bricks. Like, we're
Yeah.
talking deep grief, we're talking deep tears, feeling like you're bleeding tears, like from the depths of your soul, things that didn't make sense. It still didn't make sense to me. I was trying to, this is someone that I
Lots of
never even met in
crying.
person. Yeah, it was, there's some, it didn't make sense to me. I didn't need it to make sense because I have an understanding of the soul and the quantum, but I'm just to describe what it felt and just to verbalize it, like it didn't make sense, the depth of my grief, but on a linear level is what I mean. It made sense to me
Mm-hmm.
because I felt a lot and it was a really big deal for me. And I grieved a lot. And yeah, exactly. It was all those future timelines of everything that I envisioned and all these big things that I see for myself in this life and all these amazing things, and seeing that person, having some vision of a specific person now there next to you for all of it, that you just have to cut loose and let that go. And I did end up reaching out to kind of have another conversation of closure about it like a week or so after I received this reading, after I was like grieving on my own for like a week. And
Mm-hmm.
then I kind of just decided, like, all right, the worst has already happened. I have to let this go. I felt like I just wanted another conversation of closure, and so we did talk another time, just on like just texting, messaging stuff of and you know, I felt like I needed to hear it from him too, because in my mind it was like, oh, well, what if he changes his mind, or like, well, what if tomorrow, or like, what if next week, or like, what if in a month? Like, I just needed the door to be shut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we did have like a good closure conversation, and he was at that point, at that time that we talked, he was in a point where he had made peace with his current timeline and his current life and his current relationship. And I once I heard that, I mean, it was difficult because there was a lot of parts of questioning myself, like, was I stupid? Like, was I imagining all of this? Like, was I, how delusional
Yeah.
was
Well,
I?
because he
Like,
came around a
yeah.
bit, because before he was telling you that his relationship was on the decline, essentially.
Yes.
That's through you to me. That's how it sounded, is that
Yes.
they basically were growing apart. They were distancing. That relationship was basically coming to its demise. That's what it sounded like to me. So then in your closure
Mm-hmm.
conversation, he was like, oh no, we've worked it out and we're actually like
Mm-hmm.
better than ever, is kind of what he said, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not like better than ever,
Maybe
but
not
like
better.
in a stable,
Sorry,
yeah.
but they
No,
were
no, no, you're
they were
fine.
working on
In a,
things, and he felt good
right, no,
about that.
in a stable point, enough that, yeah, in a stable point that like he felt at peace. And yeah, it brought up a lot of like self-questioning of like, wow, like, was I so stupid this whole time, going through all these stages of grief and all these stages of questioning yourself and regret and all these things. And I was like, well, I that's what I get. Like, I felt like I I was so self-aware the whole time that the situation was such a risk, and that it was such a bizarre situation. And to me, like, when I was reflecting on it at the end, I was just like, I mean, not that I necessarily deserve that, but I was like, this is what happens. Like, this is what I
Mm-hmm.
get for risking it. And I think that's what happens. But we did have a good um conversation of closure, and I needed to hear that from from him that he was choosing this, and it hurt, but it was necessary. And so, that happened at the beginning of the year. That conversation happened a few days into the new year.
Mm-hmm.
And so then from that point on, cords are cut. We're not in each other's lives or anything anymore. And but just, yeah. And so I felt like, I could accept it. I mean, even that first stage of grief, like before we had that conversation, the feelings, the feelings, that's what I want to just like kind of talk about or emphasize, like just that deep feeling of being so just being so in it. Like, oh my God, I cried for like 12 days straight or something like that. Like
A
so
lot
much.
of releasing. Like I was getting voice memos, guys, which is great because I'm your friend to listen to that. But
Yes.
it was like, yep,
It was a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a lot. Even on my birthday. Fuck you. I cried on my birthday. And for what? For what? No, I'm kidding.
For what?
Well, I'm not really kidding. No, those were some of the, but those were some of the outbursts of the like anger and everything of like, for what? For what? What was that fucking for? Just for nothing? But no, nothing's ever for nothing. But these initial feelings, the initial grief that I was feeling was just this anger. Like, and maybe other people can relate to this if they feel like they have encountered a soulmate connection that never was, or just someone that didn't choose it, or that they felt like could have been. Like,
oh, I'm sure
this
they
is
can.
anger.
I think this happens a lot actually, because we do have our free will and we do have these different intersections of soulmates. And I think even though I don't have a ton of exes, like I can attest to I think just those like relationships where like, like you're trying to make it work and there is a soul connection and people can feel it, but there seems like there's some type of outside force, or there's these other circumstances or workings that aren't helping you. And like I do relate to that in some way. Like I was able to, with my soulmate, we were able to work through that and move on, but we definitely had moments where it's just like we feel so connected, but like what the fuck is happening? Like when we were really young, because like I mean we went through so many different phases of us, of who we are. Like I'm not who I was when I was 14 or 16 or 18 or 20 or 21. Like I'm not even who I was like a year ago. So and so those times, like to be finding who you are and to be in a committed relationship to somebody, whew, that was some learning. But
it takes choice.
But I understand that feeling, because I think we felt that in a lot of ways. Like we never did break up, but we had conversations about it at different points in our life, like more so when we were younger, but we felt that that soul connection. But sometimes circumstances don't make those things easy, and people have free will, right?
Yeah. And it was like that, the depth of the grief of the feeling was this anger and this like pissed. I was pissed at him for not choosing it. I was pissed that I felt like it was supposed to be. I felt like I was robbed of something, that like I had this knowing that there was a time, I have this understanding of the quantum and all these things, and like there's this timeline, and I'm like, I never get to live that timeline. But there is a timeline, I believe that to be true, that there was a timeline. And I mean, obviously I have to stop lingering on that, or that, that was a part of my process, was like, I have to eventually, that was what I had to go through in the beginning, like just really lingering on like, this was supposed to be, and now it can't be. And I'm pissed and I'm angry. I'm like, he didn't choose it. He could have, but he didn't. And it was a lot of things, and then I just, I felt like I was just really in it in this whole time, basically. And I also, I also at this point, there's other aspects of my life that I have not figured out. Like I'm still looking for work. I'm still, I'm still in transitional spaces and other points in other areas of my life. So that made it that made it harder too, because I think I was looking to this to be the next chapter and to encompass all of the next chapter and things of my life, because I'm in a transitional space in my living situation. I'm in a transitional job, transitional job situation, transitional financial situation. And I was, almost like expecting this to take me to the next, to just be a part of the next level. Like, I did obviously have the understanding that a lot of things had to be figured out within myself, but I just saw this as, I just figured this would be an inevitable piece of the puzzle, piece of the next timeline. And and this was literally, all this grief was happening as soon as we turned into the new year and right on my birthday. Like, as soon as we're getting into 2024, and everyone's like, so excited for the new year, so excited for the new year. Oh my God, we're 24. And I'm like, I don't have a life anymore. Everything is in shambles. I'm like, to be dramatic about it, I'm like, everything that I thought was supposed to take off and happen for me in 2024, that I envisioned as all circulating around this potential relationship that felt like it was so aligned and everything. Everything's in shambles, and it was the most liminal in between space I've been in a long time. It felt short-lived because I feel like I really gave myself to the grief. But I really, I feel like I just had I feel like that time was like so significant for me, because I had to like surrender so deeply to the nothingness. Like, so deeply. Like, it was nothing. Like, all I could do was grieve, and it was just this deep space of sadness, this deep space of release, and this deep space of not knowing what was next. I wasn't feeling optimistic about other aspects of my life because of the transition. I didn't know. I had no idea what anything would hold. And I just really had to surrender myself to the in between. And I had to rest in the knowing that, like, this version of me that's in this right now literally cannot see through the clouds. When you're in that, when you're in something so deep like that, there's no point in even trying. And I didn't try, in trying to see, to have some perspective. I didn't try to have some perspective, because there was no perspective to be had, because I was so in it. And I let myself have that. I really gave myself to what I really feel like was the void, nothingness, like the depths of grief. And I think that was good, because like I gave myself to it. It lasted like a few weeks. There was maybe, we're talking like end of December into early January was when all the depth of this was happening. But it was crazy. Like, it was really such a huge process for me, because like I just don't remember the last time was in such a deep process like that. And I really gave myself to it. And I think I did a good job with that, because like I emerged on the other side, and I feel like I grieved all that I needed to. And I feel like, once we were like a week or so into the new year, I feel like it was also like a little bit no tears left to cry. I feel like I had just given so much and just gotten so much out of my system. And then also, at this point, then, not in his life anymore, removed from all socials and everything. And I was like, okay, it's beyond me, and it's past me. And I can truly say that, like, since mid January or so, like, I really feel like it's behind me, in ways that I'm even confused and impressed by. I don't know if it's maybe like now we're able to like quantum jump a little bit better. I don't know. I know that I earned this feeling of the other side because of how deep I was in it. And that's what, I just did want to talk about that, because I know that that is such a relatable thing. And like, in that depth, I knew that me could not see through the clouds, but I knew that there would be a future now moment. There would be a future version of me that had perspective, that found new happiness, that was able to see out of the clouds, that was able to that was able to build anew, that was able to have this be in the past. And that's just all I kind of held on to. But yeah, so I'm happy to say that like I'm doing really well now. And I really do feel like it's behind me, but it was just such a crazy, like, whoa, it's like, whoa, what was that? But at this point, like, of the reflecting that I'm doing on it, it's more so about like what that meant to me, less about him and more just about like what that all was for me. And
Yeah, because I mean, it is always about you,
about
right?
us.
Like there's always it's cut back to that mirror theory, or not
Yeah.
even really a theory, but that the our external world is always mirroring to us, and we learn the most like in relationships. So what is this person mirroring to me? What are they showing
Right.
me about myself? What are they
Yeah. And like I think it it's really cool that I had my heart opened in such this way that for me I hadn't experienced it, was hadn't seen those traits in someone, hadn't seen had I had not experienced what I thought would be such a level of compatibility in those ways. And just those feelings, like I thought I wasn't gonna cry, but now I am. Just like, but no, what I'm crying at is like happy tears of like, I was like, I was like so happy, like just like feeling into like what that connection felt like, or like what it could have been and everything. And like that's what I mean, like when I felt like I just unlocked this new level, like I just had not felt that way. And I just like the joy and like the depth and just kind of just took over me. And I just feel like, in those times, and that's why, like, obviously, can't regret it. Like yeah, when I did have those feelings of hope or letting myself lean into that, like there were so many moments of, wow, I was swept up in that thing where I was like so happy, and so it's like, yeah, it's like that's in retrospect, it's like, wow, it's like what a cool experience that I had that experience, that I accessed those heights of emotion and I accessed those feelings. And yeah, like that's like what makes me emotional, just seeing myself feel in like those new ways, that it was all new to me. Yeah, it was just a wild experience. And I I'm putting love on the back burner. Or it's just so crazy, because it was weird, because I I went like a while without, I felt like, okay, so like the second half of my 2023 was all consumed by these feelings of love and this hope and all these things. And it had been a while before that was in my field, like deep feelings of love, or seeing that in someone else, or seeing that, or having yeah, just having those experiences had not been in my field for years, like since for like, yeah, at that point I guess like 2.5 3 years, 3.5 years or something like that. So I'm like, okay, I've had my fix of feeling feelings of love and feeling all of that stuff. And having that just be, when you're swept up in that, it's just your existence, it's in your aura, it's in your field, it's in everything. And I'm like, all right, like I've focused on love a lot in the last year. So at this point, I'm very much just like putting it on the back burner. While I'm loving myself, I'm obviously focusing on that. But um yeah, that's kind of just the way that I see it. It was a while, it took me a long time to get over my ex. uh and so there was, I was heavily grieving my ex still, like in 2020 and 2021 even. um so it felt like to me that it had been a while since I felt those things. And And now I'm ready to, put it on the back burner of my focus, at least right now. I'm like, all right, I felt feelings of love a lot in 2023. Let me feel feelings of getting a job. um yeah, so that's where things are at with my heart. So if anyone has, not if anyone, to anyone and to everyone that has listened to all of this, thank you very much for listening, and I hope that it was both entertaining and of value and relatable. And yeah, I really just do think that a lot of the people that are in this community we're all such new versions of ourselves with this recent spiritual awakening and stuff. And like, again, just to emphasize the being seen, especially like for very sensitive people or empaths, there's a lot of really big theme of like, you see other people all the time but you don't feel like people see you um a lot, or you feel like it's harder for someone to like really lock in on you and see you and understand you. I just think that's a theme that a lot of people experience. And so when you feel like you have that, or when you feel like someone does see this new version of you, and this new version of you that you've worked on, that you've spent time in isolation and you've done work on yourself and you feel like you've emerged, and it's like, wow. um yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing your experience on this. I will say, I think you saying that you've been able to like feel through it and leave it behind you, I think that contributes a lot to allowing yourself to sit in that grief and just
Yeah.
like feel it to its depths, right? So it can move through your body, and that so you can
Yeah.
have that experience, because there is a piece of you that was calling in that experience also. So then to truly allow yourself to like sit and be
Mm.
in that experience is pretty cool, although it didn't like probably feel that cool at the time. But um
Yeah, it actually did almost. There was this strangely, maybe not strangely, I honestly did have like an appreciation from one perspective that whole time of like, wow, these depths of emotion and the depth of heartbreak is just like, it's
mhm.
wild. It's wild. And to feel that much is like, wow.
um so if this this felt like it's come through as maybe a lesson for you. I mean, I don't want to say that because I feel like that's kind of like a little bit overused, but definitely like a teaching
Mm.
and a learning moment. What pieces of yourself do you think were illuminated like in this experience, in this process that you get to
Mm.
integrate now?
Yeah. Um, I think it was, well, I think it's like the being able to recognize when like the true, I think it was like learning what it feels like and what it doesn't feel like to have that depth fully reciprocated. It
Hmm.
was like I felt the depth, I feel like I felt the depth of everything, but I oh yeah, this is like, I gave myself, or I gave my emotions and my mental commitment without receiving anything in
Mm-hmm.
return. And we talked about this, like, he did nothing to earn my love.
No.
No. Like, that is what, like, I really kind of realized from this. Like, it was it was yeah, learning, like realizing that um when when feelings like this come across next, or when I get into another situation where I want to give myself so deeply, I can now like recognize what that doesn't feel like, what that feels like or doesn't feel like to be reciprocated, and to be I hope that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like the reciprocation of it in terms of a
Mm-hmm.
potential partnership and everything. But I think that what was like it was all just, it was all just it was all just a feeling, and it was all just a knowing. It was like it was a knowing that he cared. It was a knowing that like he saw me in a similar light, or that he saw me in this great light. And that did feel really good. And I yeah, so I mean, I feel like that would kind of like, yeah, because in terms of me, I think, well, yeah, I think there's always more that you can love
Mm-hmm.
yourself with. But like, I don't think I did any, I don't think I was in the wrong here. I think I could have been ready for this. I think that, maybe if I had loved myself even more or something, or had understood to look more for actions instead of words, that again, like we've said multiple times here, like is another big takeaway, like actions over
Mm-hmm.
words, um is, maybe I would have been able to recognize, like, so there was something in me in this experience that was accepting less, that was giving my feelings, and giving just my internal self, like my internal world, like handing over my whole hope and heart and like internal world, and the way that I'm looking towards the future, to the situation, without being filled back up myself. And I think that's what I really will be able to now like recognize in the next situation, like what is reciprocal, because that is like divine partnership. There is give and take, and reciprocation through action. And yeah, just um loving myself enough and more to be able to, you know, recognize that. Yeah, I just wanted to share that. I don't think I expected to go into so much detail, but it's
I
okay.
mean,
We
another
decided
question that I
it's okay.
have that might be similar to what I just asked, but
Yeah.
if you um, what piece of you do you think was calling in this experience exactly as it was? Or why do you think
Mm.
your soul was calling in this experience and circumstance as it happened?
Hmm.
If if you want to like take a
Yeah,
second
let
and
me
like
think.
hand on the heart, feel free. You don't have to do that,
Yeah.
but
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
just kind of drop in.
What comes to mind first is kind of just this, this energy of like, of almost the potentiality of all of it, and it feels like having it be so aligned with this, like I kept saying, like this transitional point in life. Like I feel like I am in this in between stage in certain things, and I feel like this situation perfectly aligned to that. Like it was all potentiality and no
Mm.
reality. And I feel like maybe it was kind of fueling and supporting this stage for me of not necessarily of not necessarily focusing on being present and what's in front of me, and kind of looking to fill something in the future, looking for a future where it will be better and where it will be figured out, because I
Mm.
have had a lot of difficulties with things where I currently am not figured out. And then this situation completely was a match to that, right? Another situation where it was
Mm.
all potential, and it was all just everything fueling some hypothetical future moment, and nothing in front of you. And I feel like maybe that is kind of part of maybe why the situation attracted itself in this way, um because for the lesson of focusing on what's in front of me, and what I can
Mm.
do and what I can change. um yeah, that's kind of one thing that comes to mind. It was a perfect vibrational match to my transitional
Mm.
reality, a transitional hypothetical relationship that never was, that never took off, that never, you know, yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I wonder, like, if I would have been ready for it. If it did come, like, sometimes I wonder, like, if it did all come through in a matter of those first few months and everything, like, would I have actually been ready? Sometimes I don't know. Because there are things that I have to sort out in other departments of my life that involve more believing in myself and stuff like that. Let's wrap there. Thank you for listening and being here to hear me talk about this. And thanks for listening to the podcast. Please give us a rating and review wherever you're listening, on Apple, Spotify. Follow me on Instagram at interdimensional.astrophysics. Follow the podcast at the Orphic Podcast. We're also on YouTube. All these episodes are on YouTube, so please subscribe to us there. Mikayla, your Instagram is at Mariposa Moonchild. Anything else you want to?
Nope. Just this is his Instagram, and everyone go blow it up. Just kidding. Just kidding. We're not going to do that. This is how bullying and harassment starts. Don't do that. We're not going to do that. But
oh, that's funny. That was good. Love that.
Lots of love to Alyssa. Thank you for sharing your experience, and thank you for feeling, and thank you for playing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for holding space. Love you. Love you all, listeners, as well. We'll catch you next time. Bye. Bye.